Hey, welcome back again this week for another episode of Strictly Sega. I'm Charlie and this is Nick. As always, it's just the two of us now, seeing you tend to not like Tommy that much, but it's alright. We'll gradually bring him back when the time's right. But until then, we're doing Mr. Bones.
So, we were talking about this game, and one of the things that's really interested about this is the fact that the Wii's out there at the moment is doing really well, and one of the biggest things on the Wii is their collections of minigames. And it's flooded the market with them. But what we've got here is a collection of minigames made by Zono that came out way before all that went on. And it really pushed the Saturn in every way, so let's take a look.
By 1998, the Saturn was pretty much a dead fish in the water, and not only were there no more new games released here in Australia, but all games left over were selling for as little as $5 a game. Now, to see great games like Virtua Fighter 2 and Panzer Dragoon Zwei sitting there alone with Markdown after Markdown sticker on them felt like a real slap in the face for someone who had forked out for the Saturn only 2 years beforehand for over $300. After choosing the Saturn over the PlayStation when I made my 32-bit console purchase, I was mad as at Sega for its failure and at them pulling the plug on further game development so early. I wasn't aware how hard it was to program for the system. All I saw was how many games were coming out on the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 month after month, and just nothing on the Saturn. I felt Sega had let their end down. After all, the others could do it, why not Sega? So as mad as I wasn't about to let that stop me from milking the situation for all it's worth, and I bought up heaps of games at the time. I took a lot of chances and went for games completely by title, cover, and price, as well as my previous limited knowledge of games that had already been released on the Saturn. And amongst many other greats like Road Rash, D, Pandemonium, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, I got my hands on Mr. Bones. I still remember taking this home and playing it for the first time. I lived in a shared house, and the intro managed to grab everyone's attention and drew them into the game.
Every night the army of darkness gains more soldiers. Tonight, the world will be mine. In one single night, my army of darkness, of purity, will descend upon the earth. Then there will be no more conflict, no more struggle between good and evil. There will only be evil. The world will be pure as the black void of space. Only in absolute purity can absolute beauty be found. And the only purity there is evil.
To have more skin on these bones? Man, you know I got the blues. Excuse me, did I miss something? What's going on? Oh, I see. Nice talking to you. Somebody's messing with something he shouldn't be messing with. Now we're living proof of that. Undead proof anyway.
You are an impurity.
Hey, let's not get personal now.
You will be dissolved.
Uh-oh.
For about a week, we all shared that game and sat and watched each other get through it. It was a great experience, a real journey.
Now, in 1998, games with lots of FMVs were usually set around the FMVs themselves, meaning you control the action by pressing the right button at the right time. Whereas the videos in Mr. Bones were made to thicken the story, enhance it and connect each varying level, something that had not been done in such detail before. So some of the levels are
Grave Escape, as you have seen. The Mausoleum. The Valley. Guitar solo, as we showed in the semi-review. Night, Dawn, and Day of the Bats. 3 levels of platform-style gaming, each section requiring you collect a certain amount of bones to complete. And Rolling Logs. Now this is a very interesting angle at how Sega developers managed to produce a very good looking 3D levels on less than perfect 3D hardware.
The Saturn was developed originally by Sega to perform on par with 2D arcade machines. It wasn't until Sega got wind of the PlayStation and its 3D capabilities that Sega took the Saturn back into rush development to make it more able to perform on par in 3D with their Model 2 arcade board. Although they weren't able to make the Saturn perform as well with textures, shadows and draw distance, it was deemed too late for anything else to be changed and the Saturn was released. So this meant the Saturn would now have to manage dual cores, which made programming and developing 3D games quite a task. And although the Saturn had dual 32-bit RISC Hitachi CPUs running at 28MHz each, even the best programmers were only ever able to get them running together at about 43MHz equivalent at peak. Most 3D games ended up being rewritten to make the most of what the Saturn had to offer. Some developers innovated, like the Panzer Dragoon group, who used the sound card as a coprocessor to help with the polygon build, but most games like Mr. Bones just came up with a different way to deliver the 3D. Here in this scene we see Mr. Bones running down a hill. Mr. Bones is actually the only 3D polygon figure in the scene. The logs and the hill are FMV based, but with massive improvements on how the Mega CD would handle sprites on top of FMVs.